maybe is a hesitation for you to say, well, maybe this might be the year that I call it a career, if that ever happens?
I think every year now, I start the year thinking I want to do the best I can, and maybe this would be the last one. Because you never know. The thing that bothers me the most would be your health, over which you have no control, even though you might try to be as careful as humanly possible. Last year was a shock to me. Last year we opened up the season in San Diego. I had not had a sick day in a year. Went to San Diego full of beans, did the Thursday game, did the Friday game, did the Saturday game, came back to the room and started coughing out of the blue. And I could not stretch out on the bed. I had to sit up. I coughed the entire night, never slept. Got up, went to church on Sunday, sitting next to Ed Lynch, you know, the baseball man. And next thing I know, I'm almost passing out. And they help me out of the church. I go back to the hotel. I do the game. I get in the car. I'm driven home. I walked in and I said to my wife, honey, I'm sick. And I missed my first opening day in all those years. Came out of the blue. I mean, I was absolutely 100%. Next thing you know, I was 30%. So the health has a great deal to do with it. If I also thought my enthusiasm was waning, or in all honesty, if my wife said to me then, I've had it. Let's just be you and me together and enough, I would do it the same way. But until those conditions come, I haven't had to face it. But last year, being sick really shook my tree a bit. I thought, wow, where did that come from? No idea. Yeah.
And after,
Yeah, Tim.
after these years, I'm curious, all the games you've seen, all the seasons you've seen, what about the game to you endures? What do you feel like is so familiar to you that you're so comfortable with? What about it makes sense to you, that feels right to you?
Doing the ball game, you mean?
Watching the game, doing the game, all of that.
Well, I think the first thing you want is a good game, a close score. You're always hoping for some wonderful play. I'm always hoping to see someone make a far more than ordinary defensive play. I just love that. I think I feel comfortable when the pitchers are comfortable throwing strikes. When they're laboring, you can see outfielders going on one leg and then on the other. Infielders are doing it. And probably I'm doing the same thing up in the booth. You get a little uncomfortable. Come on, play the way I know you can play. You know? So the tighter the game, the more talent that's exposed down on the field, the more comfortable I am with it. Yeah, for sure.
Just the game in general, just the sport of baseball. What about it do you connect with?
I tried to play it. I tried to play it seriously, played it in high school, played it in college. My one claim to fame, I played center field for Fordham, good field, no hit. We played Yale, and the first baseman was George Herbert Walker Bush. And it was a terrific game. And I know I had 8 putouts in center field. Memorable. We lost 2-1. I met the president later, and we had a very good time. And I said to him, Mr. President, as long as you're in the White House, you can say anything you want about your baseball ability. But remember, in that game, we both went 0 for 3. And he loved it. He just loved it. So I tried to play it. And I think what I believe you're trying to get at, I tried and I realized how hard it is to play it well. And to get to this level, it's unbelievably hard. And they make it look easy. And that is what's so shocking to me, because I know it's so much harder. And when Puig first arrived, and he was doing all these unbelievable things, and I remember saying several times, it's not that easy. But for a while, he made it look easy. So that, to me, is the charm of the game. these major leaguers are so good. I'm not sure people realize it unless you've tried to do what they're doing. That to me is the key to my love for the game.
Is there a player,
Yeah.
is there a player over the years that sticks out in your mind, and from, yeah, maybe not baseball playing ability, but just as a character that, you know, you never forget?
There have been several, but I tell you, I had two prayers. One of the two came true. I prayed that someday Walter O'Malley would get into the Hall of Fame, and he finally did, and I really felt happy about that. I am frustrated to this day, and I will go to my grave frustrated if Gil Hodges is not elected into the Hall of Fame. He was a marvelous player. He was an incredible human being, a remarkable leader, a great Marine, an American. I mean, he had everything. He was a world champion player, world champion manager, and he's not in the Hall. And you could take his numbers, compare them, and I'm certainly not picking on Tony. You could compare him to Tony Perez. Tony's in there, played much more because Gil spent several years in the South Pacific in World War II. If I could just get Gil Hodges into the Hall of Fame, I'd really be thrilled. Yeah. That, and if I could get the coaches at first and third, for 25 years when I was doing the game of the week and all that, I cried about coaches not wearing helmets. And I even called the commissioner, and he finally got them to wear helmets. But wouldn't you know, they'll wear helmets, but they won't wear the ear flap. So the only thing they're protected from would be something landing directly on top of their head. So that was my other goal, to get coaches wearing helmets with ear flaps. I'm afraid I'm not going to make that one.
Vinny, you've always, you said earlier today that you wish the Dodgers had just had one line in the program to say you were coming back.
Yes.
But you've always shied away from accepting accolades and being the center of attention. Why?
I just don't like it, I guess. I really don't. I know the job calls for you to be in front of a television camera, but you don't think about that. Vows are tough. Vows are fine if you really feel that you've accomplished something. And again, you have to believe me when I say this. My career is one of talking about the accomplishments of others. I haven't accomplished anything. I mean, I can't walk out and say, well, I just had 4 no-hitters. No, I happened to watch Sandy Koufax pitch 4 or 25 or whatever. It's always just made me uncomfortable. I'm so grateful for everything I've had, but to take a bow is kind of almost scary, I guess.
But it's the connection you have with those that listen to you that makes it so incredibly wonderful to listen to.
I don't know. I do the best I can. And some days are okay, some days I get in the car and think, you stink. I don't say a writer will pick up the paper the next day and say, what a lousy story I wrote. But I guarantee you, almost anyone in our business, I would think, after doing a game or whatever, some nights you think, how could you have been so dumb to say that? Or how could you, why didn't you say this? It's day to day.
Jim?
Then why do you still prepare the way, I know you still prepare the same way. You could probably do these games in your sleep, but why do you still prepare the same way?
I think it was the reason why I studied as a little kid in grammar school. I was afraid of the punishment if I messed up, and I was also afraid to look like a horse's fanny if I didn't know what I was supposed to know. So I think that's why I prepare, out of fear, trying to do a better job. And you go on every night saying, you know, I hope I can do a good job, and that's why you prepare. You try. Some days it works better than others.
How did baseball change in 1950 when you changed out the
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, expansion. I mean, we had 16 teams, 8 teams in each league. You played each team 154 games, 77 at home, 77 on the road. You played 22 games, 11 and 11 with each team. And then with expansion, the whole game changed. With expansion, it brought AstroTurf, brought Astrodomes and closed stadiums. The American League brought in designated hitter. I mean, the game has changed to a point. Thank goodness, the bases are still the same distance apart, and the rules are basically the same. But, oh yeah, it's changed dramatically. Now you have 30 teams. Wow. Playoffs, we never had playoffs. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for your patience. Appreciate it. Yeah.